All right, gentlemen. So here we go. Here's the virtual meet right here that I just put in Ohio mile split. You can see the results on paper. Of course, I give the same disclaimer every time I do one of these videos. And that disclaimer is races are not run on paper. This is just data. This is to inform our strategy. Uh, but the actual order of this race and the way it'll actually play out could and will most likely be a little different than what we're looking at right here. This is just to inform our strategy and to try to lay out a path to success and victory for us. So if you look here, I'll start here with Sam. You're the number one seed right there. And I don't think anybody can really get you in this race if we're being honest. So I think your thought would be you can be a little bit more conservative the first mile at least. And then I'd say after the mile, you have free reign. This is a fast course. You could really do some damage, get a nice time. Now, with that said, you don't want to burn yourself so bad and go so hard. And this goes for everybody, not just Sam. You don't want to go so hard this week that you're just not feeling it going into that next week of practice, going into the most important week of our season, regional week. So be smart. And the reason I'm saying that is, let's say hypothetically, Sam, you take it, and by the time you're going into the last mile, you're way ahead. You don't need to be, trying to hit any monumental benchmarks. Your goal is to win the race. Okay. So do that. That's your goal. Okay. And don't beat yourself up too much beyond that physically. Okay. As we continue on here, you can see our next one comes in at 6 with Josh. Okay. So Sam and Josh are the first two there. Josh, you're the 6th seed. I would love to see you kind of roll with Pick Central's 1 and 2 guys, which are right ahead of you there. They would be a great group to pace with. I'd love to see you kind of in that pack, and then eventually, hopefully, having a little bit more left at the end and being able to even possibly slide into that 4 slot. That would be a good goal. I would say your baseline benchmark would be right there, top 6. I'd say top 5 would be a little bit beyond that, and then top 4 would be your stretch goal. I think top 4 would be a great accomplishment for the team and for yourself. Now, here's where it gets a little spicier. We got Upper Arlington coming in here with their 1 and 2 at the 2 and 7 slots. Olentangy Orange has somebody here at the 3 and the 10 and the 11. So they have some front runners in there, and those are our competition teams between Upper Arlington and Olentangy Orange. Pick Central certainly also has some front runners there. As you can see, they have 3 in the top 10 seats. So Pick Central is similar to Thomas Worthington last week, where they had 3 front runners and then a little bit of a gap. So ultimately, they weren't too much of a threat on a team level, but on an individual level, Pick Central's top 3 guys will be a great group to keep an eye on, especially for our 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Right. So the thought would be, if our 3 through 7 can be beating any of those Pick Central guys, that's a good sign. So if you look at the breakdown here, here's Gunnar coming in at the 12 seed, Carson at the 14, David at the 15. Okay. What I'd like to see from that group is at least top 12 through the first mile. I'll say that again, at least top 12 through the first mile. Okay. Gunnar, I won't be upset if you want to try to go out with Josh. I know you've tried that. I think you can do it. If you want to give it a shot this race to see how it goes, I won't stop you. Carson and David, you guys hold a very critical role for the team, making sure that you guys are holding each other accountable and staying together, hopefully working together. That's going to be really, really key. So Carson, you're typically a strong starter. David, maybe your thought is sticking with Carson at the beginning, getting out with that strong start. And then David, you're a strong finisher. So maybe Carson, your thought is, I need to stick with David here. Once we get past the first and second mile, I need to commit to stay with David. Okay. So you two could have like a really nice back and forth dynamic there in that way and support each other and hold each other accountable. Again, top 12 through the first mile, and then you never know what happens. Okay. I'd say your goal is top 12. That's your I'd say that's your benchmark for both of you, top 12. Gunner, top 10. Okay. And then I'd say your stretch goal, Gunner, top 8. And your stretch goal for Carson and David would be top 10. Very realistic. You can see the times are very close, and they're certainly between the 10 and the 15. I mean, that's 10 seconds. A lot can happen. A lot can happen in that can get mixed up really easily. And so do not be surprised if you all find yourselves in the top 10. And then an equally critical piece of the puzzle for us is going to be our insurance policy, is what I call it. Hopefully our top 5 go top 10. And just like last week, we run away with it. It's, there's a chance that couldn't happen. And we need an insurance policy behind our 5-man in case one of our top 5 doesn't have their best day. Hopefully they will, and I think they will. But we want to have that insurance policy. So if you look here, we have a little bit of a gap, 15 down to 25 till we see Barch there. And then we see Rishi coming in there at the 40 slot. Now, I think that's way low for Rishi. Rishi obviously was in our top 5 last week, or he was, our 6-man last week. And so Rishi, I fully expect you to be running with Barch, and I expect the both of you to be in the top 20 after the first mile, to put yourself in position to compete. You should be able to see our second group there. You should be able to see our Carson, our David, Gunner. You should be able to have an eye on them. You should not be that far from them. But if you let them get away in the first mile, it's hard to catch up, regardless of how good of a finisher you are. Okay, you need to commit to get out a little bit more aggressive. Okay, Barch, I'm going to have you take a little bit of the responsibility on that front, making sure you get out a little more aggressive. And Rishi, your job is to be accountable to that and to stay with Barch. And if the both of you could even, if you're feeling it, if you end up kind of rolling with a David or a Carson, like awesome. Okay. But you just need to be at least top 20 by the first mile. Okay. So that's going to be getting out a little more aggressive than normal. And then you're putting yourself in position to maybe catch our 5-man, whoever that would be, to catch the David, to catch the Carson by the end of the race. Even if you're not exactly with them the first mile, you have to be in striking distance so that by the end of the race, we can be as strong of a pack as possible. Okay. So that is our breakdown of our top 7. Let's look at the team scores. You're going to see here, it is a little bit tighter than last week. You can see here that we are the 1 seed, but we're projected 48 points. Upper Arlington 64, Orange 73.5, Pick Central 84. I mean, that's a tight spread. That is a tight spread, guys. And so, 40 points separating the top 4 seeds. I mean, geez, you hate to be on the south end of that deal. All right, we got to go do our job so we can end on top like we're supposed to. You can see the breakdown here by our team, which is really nice and good to see. I did a little digging here and on some of the other teams that are close to us. And what I found is that Nathan Mark did not run last week, so I'm not sure what's going on with him, if he's going to be a part of their mix or not, but he did not run last week. And furthermore, Peyton, their 2 guy, typically, he was their 3 guy last week. Take that back. He was their 4-man last week. Upper Arlington last week went Charlie N. He was their first guy. Alex Nickel, Ryan Card, and Peyton and Thomas. Ryan, Peyton, and Thomas ran together, and they finished within 3 seconds of each other as the 3, 4, 5. So they're a strong pack team. We cannot let their pack beat our 3, 4, 5. Bottom line. Okay? They're going to pack run it. They have. We've seen them do it. They beat us at the Clash. We've beat them other times. We got to keep an eye on Card, Peyton D, and Thomas M. Those guys are going to be competing with our 3, 4, and 5. Okay? And you can see their times line up pretty closely. Okay? But I do want to point out that Peyton, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but Peyton ran a 17:02 last week, and his PR is a 16:10. So I don't know if he is dealing with something or what, but that's quite a bit off what I would expect based on his PR. And so, again, not sure what's going on there. Alex Nickel ran a 1652 last week. Pretty good time for him on that course. And Charlie ran a 1620 last week. I think everyone's times were a little bit slower than their PR last week. So just Peyton is the question mark for them, and also Nathan Mark. I don't know what's going on with Peyton or Nathan Mark, but regardless, we can't control what they're doing. We just got to make sure that their 3, 4, and 5, whoever they may be, don't beat ours. Okay. And really, I would like our goals for our 6 and 7, Barch and Rishi. I'd like you guys to be competing with them. I'd like our 3, 4, and 5 to be ahead of their 3, 4, and 5, and then have our 6 and 7, Barch and Rishi, if that's the way it plays out tomorrow. I'd like to have the two of you be competing with their 3, 4, 5 and have them in striking distance. So that would be a great kind of guiding light for our 6 and 7, Rishi and Barch. Whereas for our 3, 4, and 5, you're keeping an eye on Orange's top 3, which are right around, a little bit ahead, right around you guys, and then Pick Central's top 3. And you're trying to make sure you can get ahead of as many of those guys as possible. So that's kind of the focus for our 3, 4, 5. Gunnar, Carson, and David. Okay. Here's Orange. They had a really strange week last week. They went 16-19 for King. Etheridge went 16-29. Saketh went 16-44. And then they had a huge gap and didn't come in. Zamir didn't come in until 17-18, and Carter G came in at 17-29 last week. And so that was a little bit of a concern for them in the sense that they have a gap there. But I think as their competition, we have to assume it wasn't their best week. They're going to be better this week. Their 4 and 5 are going to be a little bit more accountable this week, and we have to prepare for that. Okay. Cole B did not race last week, so I don't know if he is injured or not, but he was out last week. So we are sitting in a fortunate position where we are all healthy, which is great. And let's continue that. Let's keep paying attention to the little things, doing everything we can to stay healthy. It's a war of attrition at this point, gentlemen. Staying healthy is the number one goal, because people are going down like flies with sicknesses and whatever else, injuries. It's in a hard time of year to stay healthy. And so if we can do that, we're going to give ourselves an edge just by doing that. Okay. All right. So that hopefully is some really good information. There again is a final look at our breakdown based on our PR times. And again, Sam, your goal number 1 in the race, whatever that means time-wise. Josh, top 6 is a benchmark goal. Stretch goal would be top 4, which I think is very realistic for you. Gunnar, top 10 is the benchmark goal. Top 8 is your stretch. Carson and David, top 12 is your benchmark. Top 10 is your stretch. And Barch and Rishi, I didn't really give you a final place goal, but it would be great if we're saying that we want Carson and David in the top 10 or 12, then I think that we really want you guys in the top 18. The top 18 to 20, I'll say. Top 18 to 20 is where we need to be to give ourselves that necessary insurance policy that we need in case something were to go wrong. So I'd say benchmark goal for you two, top 20. Stretch goal, top 18. Okay, let's go with that for Barch and Rishi. All right, gentlemen. Thanks for watching.